Fingal County Council was established in 1994, so this is our 25th anniversary. We're a unique county in terms of our rural, coastal and urban neighbourhoods. We have the youngest, most diverse and fastest growing population in the country. So from the very beginning on our establishment, we wanted to have a strong arts office that would work directly with our communities to develop arts in the county. We had an arts officer from our inception in 1994, and it was Rory's idea to form an arts collection.
There's always been an onus on publicly funded bodies to not only collect work but commission work of artists, and it's twofold. First of all, you're giving work to artists, and second of all, you're populating your public buildings, be it libraries, be it administrative centres, headquarters like this one, with the best of public art. And I see it as a great way to support the arts in Fingal. We in Fingal County Council want to keep our artists working in this county.
Because we were 25 years old, we thought it would be a good idea to look back at what had been achieved over the 25 years. And I think the Estuary collection reflects what has been achieved. But more importantly, it gives our citizens the chance to visit a really top-class exhibition, to look at the strength of the cultural offer in the county.
The very ethos of the Fingal Arts Office is about embedding the artist in all of the work that we do. So we put out an open call to our Fingal artists to curate from the County Arts Collection. And that's how James English and Una Seeley and then Sanja and Joshua were selected.
So we have spent the last few months viewing all the works in the civic offices, in the County Hall, in local libraries, and choosing approximately 30 works that will hang together in this exhibition that's opening here in Draíocht.
Morris Ward Art Handling Services were engaged to de-install artworks that were selected by the curators and that were located at each of these buildings. So the curators actually spent a day in Draíocht deliberating on the layout of the exhibition.
In the county of Fingal, there are 3 estuaries, salt water meeting fresh water. It was kind of a nice little analogy for how ideas meet and how very different approaches to art would meet. We've got works going back to the 50s, right up to the youngest of contemporary art. That kind of gave us a lovely framework.
We were all kind of on the same page with regards to trying to focus on local artists, but we wanted to focus on maybe people who'd stopped painting and they'd sold painting 20 years ago to Fingal, or maybe someone who's a little bit forgotten about that kind of thing. We tried to go for a mix.
We have about 9 works that are Fingal-based artists, and then the rest were with a nod towards the Fingal landscape, and then others just demanded to be in as pieces.
The way that they selected these artworks, and they were so considerate in having a gender balance in the work, to having a balance between the kind of art they were showing, to have very, some traditional practices, but also some more contemporary work. If there's a tension between them, it's a very intentional tension, and I think that's important.
We wanted to reach as many people as possible, and it was really important to provide a space for people to come together socially and learn more about and engage with the contemporary art that features within the County Art Collection. So we curated a public engagement programme that included guided tours delivered by the curators and also artist-led workshops delivered by artists who feature within the collection and also artists with a specialism in art education.
Today we used the Estuary exhibition as a starting point for designing and thinking about planning early years activities for children.
Spent quite a bit of time this morning in the gallery looking at lots of different artworks, and then we created some sketchbooks. So each teacher made their own, and I'm hoping that this is a tool they can bring back into the classroom, that the students could make sketchbooks if they're going to a gallery visit, that they can bring them with them and encourage sketching and looking at painting and other artworks.
Today they were being introduced to intaglio printmaking. So they were using dry point, it's a needle scratching into a surface of a plate to draw an image and then putting ink into that and printing it on the printing press.
We got the kids to think about the inside of the house, so they had a window and they had to imagine something that was going on inside. It was about bringing 2 things together and seeing what else we can see when we overlay them. The kids went away from the workshop being able to think about, I can use the windows in my own house as a light box and overlay images and see what I can find.
I was trying to give them a workshop on the essentials of drawing, but I wanted to instill a sense of practice. Just physically pick up a pencil, piece of charcoal and draw.
Instead of looking at the obvious still life subject matter, which is always like a vase of flowers or a bowl of fruit or something, I thought, like, why not look at the stuff that's washed up on all these beaches, and where does it come from, and what does it tell us about ourselves as a country, as a county, and even as a society.
We've been looking at the Estuary exhibition, talking about what we see, how we see it, and making work in response, thinking deeply about investigation, use of materials.
We were asked to design and plan a process that would be appropriate for adults with different abilities.
And then, because there's a lot of landscapes within the Estuary exhibition, we chose landscapes as a theme.
So then our process was about trying to create the simplest form of landscape with the least amount of direction.
I thought it would be a good idea to make a mascot for Fingal area. I show them first slides of my work so they get excited about art in general, and then some examples of a Japanese mascot. I show that a thing can contain history and then other cultural information. Yeah, they are really into it.
So my role here today was to deliver a workshop, I suppose, on the Leaving Cert gallery question. For today's session, we had 2 of the curators of this exhibition. We also had one of the artists, Martin Gale, whose work is exhibited within the exhibition.
Such an asset to have this here and available to our students, and it makes art a lot more accessible to see it in their own environment. And to have the artists here has been such a treat and such a benefit for us and for our students in their studies.
So the collection itself is by its very nature a public collection. So it makes sense that the commissions that are delivered by artists in the county find their way into the collection and are used then to communicate something about Fingal. We have the Hyde Suite, which we've been able to communicate the permanent work by Garrett Phelan, the Hyde sculpture out in Ballylee landfill, through Visit. So the Hyde Suite is a series of 28 prints which were commissioned alongside the delivery of the Hyde sculpture and the Hyde project. So the permanent asset of the council is the sculpture, and the Hyde Suite is an addition of prints which allows us to talk about the Hyde sculpture without actually being there. You know, art has this wonderful way of bringing people together to talk about where we're at. It provides that opportunity.
What actually occurred was this very social space where people ended up spending far more time than I think they originally planned on spending in the gallery space with the work and with the artists.
You know, I always think once you break the barrier of an art centre like Draíocht, once you go through the door, you only need to do it once, and then you can say, oh look, there's an exhibition on, there's a play on, whatever. And you know, we want to try and give people those habits, those social habits. You know, all those things help broaden people's choices and get them to embrace other things.
The richness that comes within a community from people engaging with each other, using art and art forms to stimulate that positivity within a community.
Well, Fingal County Council have always placed a huge value on the support of artists, and that's been demonstrated very visibly by our collection.
Well, this is one of the finest municipal collections in the country. Local authorities in Ireland are uneven in the degree to which they support the art. Fingal must be one of the leaders. Fingal is one of the path breakers.
Where galleries were closing around the country, they were actually opening up and providing venues for artists to show their work.
We really are, I feel like, the envy of a lot of artist communities because we are so well taken care of.
This work that you make is actually valued and considered as artwork, and you are considered as a growing artist. It's enlivening for your continuing practice.
We are so lucky to have an accessible gallery on our doorsteps, so close for the students to access, and to have that, I suppose, it's a big credit to Fingal and their arts and the amount of effort and time they put into that and what they're making available to young students locally.
Actually building the community and wrapping all of the services around that so that community can sustain itself in a very positive and healthy way is what we're about. And arts is such a big part of that. And that's what drives the arts team in Fingal.
think the Estuary exhibition really demonstrates the potential of the arts. It reminds the professional artists of what they've achieved, but it also is an indicator to our young people what their future in arts might look like. And it coincides with the development of our new arts plan, which is for the next 7 years. So I think it's really nice to look back and reflect on what has been achieved over the last 25 years as you're publishing an arts plan, which is a firm intent to continue to develop the arts. I think the arts may look a little bit different in 25 years' time, and I look forward to that exhibition. I think it may be very different, but equally interesting.